ADD and books. Okay, I think I have everything I need. Well, hello, I'm Erica. I'm Odd. If you have been to my channel before, I will explain. But if you have never been to my channel before, welcome. I have been doing YouTube for a while, and I've gone through sort of different ebbs and flows of what kind of content I create, which I'll get into a little bit on this video. But I finally, I think, reached a point on my YouTube channel where I'm definitely making all of the content that feels right to me, which is booktube and vlogging. But I realized I've never done Booktube Newbie Tag. Like officially, I just sort of started talking about books as I got into reading a couple years ago. I've been slowly just having a nice balance of vlogging and booktube and just sort of all of that culminating, but I wanted to do the official Booktube Newbie Tag because I feel like there's some really good questions in there for me to answer and for everyone to just sort of get to know me better, because I know I have a lot of new subscribers from my bookish content. So let's get started. I'm excited. Okay, so I looked up a few variations of this, and this one seems to be the most consistent for the questions, so I'm going with it. Number one, why did you start this channel? Great question. So a little backstory, a little bit of lore about me. I started making regular videos, I would say, during 2020 for obvious reasons, just being bored in the house, and I was like, well, I've always loved YouTube and like making videos and editing, and we know that I have an art degree with a minor in film photography videography, so I learned how to do all of that editing in college, and I was like, well, this is something I've always loved, so I'd love to do it as a hobby. And when I started my channel, it was sort of just like sporadic content, some of which I still have up. If you'll notice my like earlier content where you're like, wait, I thought you started 4 years ago, I've put a lot of videos on private, and the reason is they just sort of don't fit my channel anymore. They're very just like random. I left a few up because I am proud of them. Some of them I do find really hilarious, but I've taken a lot of videos down just for that reason of like, this isn't really the vibe here anymore. I also did like channel commentary where I would review different more controversial YouTubers' channels and commentate on that, and I got a lot of subscribers from one of my videos that I actually put on private, again just because it's not the vibe. Even though I stand by what I said in those videos, I didn't like the mind space that it was putting me in, because I was looking at people who were very opposite of me, right? And it was putting me in a very negative mind space, which I didn't need to be in any more than I already was at that time. I think that we all were at that time. So I decided to stop doing that. And then in 2023, spring of 2023 actually, I pretty much announced like, hey, I want to get more into vlogging. This vlogging feels correct to me. So a lot of my channel has been me sorting out the type of content that I want to put out. I think that has a lot to do with me having ADD, but I'm very happy where my channel is at now, which is, I think, a healthy balance of just vlogging and booktube, like I said. Why I started the channel was surely out of like, well, I've always admired this and I've always liked YouTube and YouTubers, so why not try it myself? And that's what I've been doing, and it's a really nice creative outlet, and I'm at a really nice place, I think, with my channel where I'm happy where it's at. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to booktube? I haven't seen a lot of booktubers talk about this. I'm sure that there are other booktubers like me. Let me know in the comments. I'm dyslexic. I'm not shy about it on here. I'm neurodivergent with ADD, dyslexia, and dysgraphia. I'm very proud of it, very proud of who I am, and nobody on here will ever make me feel not proud of who I am, period. I am dyslexic, so I'm a dyslexic reader, so I'm a big advocate for like audiobooks and Kindles that have the dyslexic font setting, but I still obviously love my physical books, and I am somebody who is really like, I don't get caught up in numbers. If I see a YouTuber that's like, I read 160 books this year, I don't see that title and feel bad about myself. I see that title and I'm like, click, tell me everything. Even though like I'll have maybe read only 25 to 30 books in a year, I'm fine with that. I'm still very proud of that. And I don't think that booktube should ever be a place where you go and feel worse about yourself. I think that you should go and it should just be like fun energy where we get to talk about books that we like and different series and worlds and just life. Like, I want it to be a more positive space in that manner. But I am a dyslexic reader. If you know any other dyslexic booktubers or book talkers, please comment them down below so I can give them a follow. But yeah, I think that's definitely something unique I bring to the table. What are you most excited about for this channel? I'm just just excited to like connect with you guys. That's always sort of been the point of my channel, is just like community. I mostly want it to be a place where you can come and just like have fun and listen to me yap and then yap back in the comments. I just really like to connect. And like too, I read a bunch of different types of books. I wanted to also like have a space where I can talk about my latest obsessions and latest books and all of that. So yeah, I want to definitely connect with more people about the types of books I read. But again, let me know your favorite book recommendations, your favorite book series, all of it. But I'm just excited for the community to grow and have more people to yap about life and books with. Why do you love reading? I've talked about this in a previous vlog at one point. Long story short, I read a lot in middle school. I read the entire Goosebumps series in my school's library, and they had like those AR points. I was so proud of myself because I was reaching the AR goal where you got to put your name and like decorate a square on the ceiling in your middle school. I know it sounds dumb, but like when you're 11, it's a pretty big deal. My guidance counselor took me into the room and said, hey, we noticed that you've been reading a bunch of Goosebumps. If you don't read something, we're going to take away like 50 AR points, I think it was. And like if you only read Goosebumps, it's not going to count as reading. And by the way, super illegal. But it was super discouraging. And so I didn't read for a really long time. I was just like, okay, I'm dyslexic. Reading isn't meant for me. Which is a really devastating thought, because it was always, reading was always made into a competition within, I think, all school systems. They somehow made reading a competition instead of something that should be enjoyed. It made you feel bad if you couldn't keep up. I got into audiobooks in college. So I would physically read my textbooks, but I would have Audible where I would listen to audiobooks a lot, and I just listened to books for years. Up until end of 2022, beginning of 2023, where I was like, I want to make it a goal to start reading. And I'm not going to have a super strict reading goal. I started my goals very small. And I was like, I want to just find a joy in this if I do enjoy this. Because another thing was, there's a lot of readers in my extended family, and they would make me feel bad about reading. Again, because I'm dyslexic, and they would discriminate against me. And I don't associate with those people anymore. So as an adult, I sat down. I was like, okay, you want to do something, you can do it. And it's nobody's business. And you don't have to talk about it with anybody else, and you can just privately do this to work through this mental block. And I did. And then I really started talking about it on YouTube, and then I found sort of this whole YouTube book talk community. I've really enjoyed it, and I've really just fallen in love with reading. Like, some of the books that truly got me back into reading truly was The Silent Patient, Fourth Wing, Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Those were the first ones where I was like, okay, I think I really, really like this. And then I got into Icebreaker, which got me into romance, because before that I was like, ew, romance, hate it, blah, love. And then I like really fell in love with romance. So now I sort of read everything. I'm a sci-fi, romance, romantasy, scary book girly. I used to be like, I don't want fluffy romance books, and now it's all I buy. Okay, so I kind of answered this. What book series got you into reading? If we're talking about when I first really got into reading in middle school, Goosebumps. Duh. I still love Goosebumps. I still read them. They're awesome. And then what series got me back into reading, like a true series? Fourth Wing. And I guess Icebreaker, but mostly Fourth Wing. Oh, okay. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I have two booktubers I'm obsessed with. One is Kayla D. I just love like the vibes of her channel. Oh my gosh, what would I ask them? This is such a good question. Oh, I think I would ask Kayla D if she would ever write a book, because I feel like she could be a very good writer. And then I think I would ask Larry Reeds, because I'm obsessed. I would ask Larry Reeds to go get espressos and talk about the Empyrean series. I feel we would vibe. What challenges do you think starting a YouTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I've had a YouTube channel for a while, so I can just answer this. The hardest thing to overcome has been for me, I guess that this could be applied to the general public, but for me, I've mentioned this before, I've had one person over 4 years scrutinize everything that I do to an obsessive point. And that's been hard to overcome, of like, okay, I need to realize that no matter what I do, no matter what I post, no matter what I say, it will be taken, twisted, and manipulated so that they can just make themselves feel better. And just getting over that hurdle of like, you have to not care what people think. I've never really given a shit what people think. That's just sort of my thing. Somebody's like, I don't like you. I'm like, good. I'm glad that you don't. There's 7 billion other people on the earth. Go find one you like. That's how I've always been. But to watch somebody knowingly lie about you constantly and try to downplay their own actions that make you react in self-defense did get exhausting for a while, but I've truly hit the point where I'm like no matter what I do, they're not gonna like me, and that's fine. They don't have to like me. I like me. And that's it. I would say that's probably the hardest hurdle of a YouTube channel. You gotta hit the delete comment and the block button so quick on people. I do it all the time. You need to realize that people will be vicious for no reason that has to do with you. It always has to do with them. You gotta just let it roll off your back. When did you start reading? These are kind of repetitive. I started reading as an adult, started reading end of 2022, early 2023. I've dabbled with reading on and off my whole life, but that's when I truly seriously started reading and really fell in love with it. And I also wanted to wait until I knew that reading wasn't a hyperfixation before I really like dove into the booktube aspect of my channel, because I didn't want to grow this like big booktube following and then have it fall off. But it's been a couple years and I love it now more than ever, and so I'm really comfortable just like diving into this aspect as well as vlogging. Where do you read? Right here, baby. I read sort of everywhere. I read in my bed. I read out in my living room. I actually have a Kindle stand out in my living room. Shay's chair that I sit in constantly. It's like my chair. I love it. I read outside. I read in the hot tub. I read in pools. I read in a lawn chair in my yard. I read at cafes. I read at bookstores. I have my Kindle on me at all times. I read sort of anywhere I have the time to read. 4-hour flight, you mean 4 hours of uninterrupted reading? You got it. And then lastly, what kind of books do you like to read? Like I said, I love romantasy. I love like dragons and like magical worlds. That stuff's really fun for me. I've always loved that. I love thrillers. I love scary books, sci-fi books too, spooky stuff. Like I have always eaten that shit up. And then I recently, as of like 2 years ago, got into romance. I used to preach that I didn't like romance. It wasn't my thing. And now I'm like, I'm buying special editions of romance series. And I'm reading a romance book right now on top of another romance book on top of a book about pregnant witches, which is not romance, but it is cool. I'm just reading about all of it and I love it. Those are mainly the books I read. Not a whole lot of memoirs. I don't read self-help books. I pay a therapist. Not that there's anything wrong with self-help books. Go for it. I just don't read them because I'm like, why would I buy this book when I pay this person? You know what I mean? And also reading is such an escape for me. And it's such a thing that I do to relax. Meanwhile, I'm like sobbing, throwing up because a dragon has crashed into a wall. It's the same with like when I sit down at a TV, my instinct is not to turn on the news. My instinct is to put on something that I enjoy so I can escape my mind. And reading really is a nice just escape for me. And I just love it so much. Way more into romance now, so I talk a lot about romance books, but I am still in my spooky vibes, don't you worry. I'm currently reading The Ex-Hex. I have like 45 minutes left of this book. And then I'm reading Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. So I'm a mood reader. I read a bunch of books all at once. The vibes I bring to the function. ADD. ADD in books. But that is it for the Booktuber Newbie Tag. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If this is your first time finding my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. We have a lot of fun here. Let me know in the comments down below what books you're reading or what is your favorite part about reading, and I'll be sure to respond. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.